Most people don't disrespect you because you're weak. They do it because you let them. Every time you stay quiet to avoid upsetting someone, every time you lower your head just to be accepted, you're teaching the world one thing. You're willing to accept less than you deserve. And you know what the worst part is? It's not the disrespect. It's when you start believing you actually deserve it. But you have another option. No yelling, no comebacks. Just 8 silent actions, sharp enough to make those who look down on you choke on their own words. Watch until the end to see how a Stoic man turns silence into a deadly weapon. Not for revenge, but to reclaim his own life. If this is your first time visiting the channel, hit subscribe and like so you don't miss out on exciting upcoming content. No one can belittle you unless you react. And yet, most men today burn themselves alive over cheap words. A look of contempt, a sarcastic jab, being brushed off, suddenly they lose control, as if their life is under attack. When in truth, it's just their ego getting poked. Calmness is not weakness, it's power. It's the ability to sit still in a storm and not be swept away. It's the discipline of not letting others control your state of mind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are angry because someone insulted you, then you've let them win." And that's the truth. Every time you snap, scream, or retaliate, you're silently admitting, "You're right, and what you said hit me hard." A strong man doesn't strike back with words. He observes. He stays quiet. He gives off that cold indifference only true confidence can produce. Not because he feels nothing, but because he masters what he feels. That's inner discipline, something damn rare in this era. Calm doesn't make you soft, it makes you dangerous. The quieter you are, the harder you are to read. The less you react, the harder you are to manipulate. And that's exactly what makes those who disrespect you nervous. They can't pull you down to their level. They can't provoke the reaction they're hoping for. You become an enigma, a problem they can't solve. Here's the irony. The moment you react to disrespect, you feed it. The moment you show indifference, it dies. You don't need to puff your chest or prove a thing. You just need to keep walking, steady, unfazed, while they slowly realize they hit a wall of stone, not a rubber ball that bounces back. This world will never run out of people who look down on you. But you can choose not to care. Not because you're afraid of confrontation, but because you've got more important things to fight for. When you learn to be silent at the right moment, you're not just protecting your dignity, you're elevating it. No longer at the mercy of others' opinions, but anchored in the most unshakable foundation, composure. Nothing frustrates those who look down on you more than your silence and your progress. There's no sharper response than quietly becoming excellent. No need to speak, no need to prove. Just do, and let results speak for you. Do you know the real reason people disrespect you? It's not because you're weak. It's because you're not good enough yet to shut them up. This world isn't fair, and it never will be. It doesn't care about your effort, your background, or your feelings. It only speaks one language: value. You're not respected, not because you don't deserve to be disrespected, but because you haven't given them a reason to respect you yet. And that's not an excuse to complain. It's a truth meant to wake you up. Want to reverse every ounce of contempt you've received? Stop trying to change other people. Become the version they can't ignore. Start with what you're good at. Everyone has something they do better than most. If you don't know what that is, go find it. If you do, go deeper. You don't need to be number one in the world, but you damn sure need to be good enough that people think twice before judging you. When you shift your energy to improving yourself, everything changes. Instead of wasting time reacting to insults, you use them as fuel to break through. Their mockery becomes the wind in your sails. If you know how to tie it to the mast of action, let them keep laughing. Let them think you're going nowhere. While they waste breath criticizing, you're moving forward. Every skill you sharpen, every hour you invest, every goal you quietly achieve, it's a slap they never see coming. The one form of revenge they can't deny, undeniable growth. Let them doubt you. Don't waste time convincing them. Real growth doesn't need a stage. It happens in the dark, away from the noise. And one day when the light finally hits you, people will ask, how the hell did he get here? They won't know, because you chose to evolve in silence. Contempt doesn't kill you, it only does if you stay still. But if you use it as your engine, you don't just survive, you become unstoppable. And by then, you won't need to say a word. Success will do all the talking. No one steps on you unless you lie down. And the painful truth is this: most men live beneath their potential because they're too afraid to demand more. They trap themselves in mediocrity by playing it safe. They settle for dead-end jobs, toxic relationships, and meaningless routines, not because they want to, but because they fear change, rejection, and loneliness. They call it being realistic. But it's just a polished name for giving up. A Stoic man doesn't live like that. He doesn't settle for comfort just because it's easy. He understands one thing clearly. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you demand. And if you don't have the courage to demand more, you'll never receive it. You are not a victim. You just keep putting yourself in that role. You want to be respected? Start by respecting yourself. Raise your standards. Stop letting people cross your boundaries just because you're scared of losing them. Kindness is not weakness. Love is not suffering. A job is not a prison, and a relationship is not a place where you become invisible. Yes, raising your standards will make you unpopular. You'll lose friends, you'll be called arrogant, you'll be lonely. But that's the price of purging your life of cheap relationships and toxic environments. If you want a different life, you have to choose different things. No great man ever followed the crowd or settled for good enough. They chose discomfort. They chose growth. They chose solitude over compromise. You must begin to believe you deserve a better life. Not because of who you are today, but because you're willing to become someone strong enough to build it. And to do that, you have to say no to anything below your standards, whether it's a job, a relationship, or the way someone treats you. Respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you build, with every standard you uphold and every low offer you reject. And when you refuse to live below your worth, the world has no choice but to raise its voice when it speaks to you. Stop wasting another day living in weakness and chaos. Subscribe to Stoic Success now to build an unbreakable mindset, master your emotions, and face life like a warrior. If you live to please others, you'll never do anything that truly matters, because someone will always disapprove. There will always be critics, haters, and cynics. And if you keep bending yourself to their opinions, you'll never know who you really are. A weak man is one who constantly reshapes himself just to get a nod from others. He measures his worth by likes, praise, and the fleeting approval of the crowd. He wears what they like, says what they accept, and lives like he needs permission just to exist. A strong man, on the other hand, doesn't need anyone's validation to know he's on the right path. He doesn't live through the eyes of others. He lives by his own standards. And those standards don't shake just because of applause or mockery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It doesn't matter what others do. What matters is what you choose to do." Judgment can't touch you unless you let it in. That's why the most grounded men are the quietest. They don't need to defend their name. They don't need to explain themselves. They just keep doing what's right. You weren't born to be accepted. You were born to complete a mission. And that mission isn't for those afraid of being disliked. You will be misunderstood. You will be criticized. At times, the world will turn against you. But if your actions align with your values, then all of that is just noise. True freedom begins the moment you stop living to make others comfortable. When you understand that your value doesn't come from approval, it comes from your ability to stand firm when no one claps for you. Every man who ever changed the world, philosophers, revolutionaries, great builders, had one thing in common. They didn't live for approval. They went against the tide. They embraced isolation, but they didn't back down. And that's why we respect them, not because someone once cheered them on. Stop asking, will they be okay with it? Start asking, is this true to who I am? If it is, do it. Even if no one supports you, even if everyone turns their back. Because at the end of the day, the greatest form of respect you'll ever earn is the respect you give yourself. You don't have to stay where you're not respected. No one's forcing you to remain beside people who only show up when they need something and disappear the moment you fall. And yet, many men still cling to those relationships as if their worth depends on being allowed to exist in someone else's life. The truth is, you weren't born to be someone's backup plan. When you stay around people who don't value you, you start doubting yourself. You lower your standards. You make excuses for their coldness, for how they dismiss your efforts, and you convince yourself, maybe I'm just not good enough. But do you know what's worse than being undervalued? Knowing it and still staying. You can't grow in a place that constantly makes you question your worth. You can't evolve beside people who keep dragging you down, who make you feel like you have to earn love just to exist. Friendships, love, any relationship. It should be a space that nourishes you, not drains you. If you have to strain just to keep your place next to someone, maybe you were never meant to be there. A Stoic man doesn't beg for connection. He builds relationships like a garden, only keeping what's worth keeping. People who truly value you will never make you guess your place in their life. You won't have to work for their respect. They see your worth even before you fully show it. They want to see you grow, not because it serves them, but because they genuinely want to see you rise. And those who use you, treat you like a tool, or act like your presence is guaranteed, cut them off. No rage, no revenge, just walk away. Peace is the strongest response to disrespect. You don't owe your presence to anyone, and you sure as hell don't owe it to people who don't value it. Every time you choose to stay in those spaces, you teach others, this treatment is okay with me. Stop teaching that. Start teaching them by leaving, quietly, but with finality. Not everyone deserves access to you, and you don't need to be so nice that you destroy yourself just to maintain a hollow connection. Stay close to those who make you feel strong, not small. Because respect isn't in the words, it's in the actions. It's in how people make you feel about yourself when you're around them. You're not special because you've been hurt. Everyone has. The difference is, some use their wounds as excuses to retreat and blame the world. Others use them to evolve. Adversity isn't a reason to stop. It's a reminder. The world owes you nothing. Not an easy road, not fairness. And the truth is, you don't need an easy road to become extraordinary. What you need is a spine strong enough to stand firm in the mud and a mind clear enough to see opportunity in the wreckage. Every time you're disrespected, betrayed, rejected, you have two choices. Play the victim and complain about how unfair life is, or look your pain in the eye and ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? A Stoic man never asks, why is this happening to me? He asks, who can I become because of it? You can be insulted, rejected, excluded, but you never truly fail unless you refuse to learn. Pain doesn't weaken you. Letting pain control your mindset and actions, that's what destroys you. Pain is mandatory. Defeat is a choice. The strong are different from you in how many times they fall. They're different in how they get back up, and in their refusal to let anger blind them to the lesson. Life can throw shame, betrayal, and disappointment in your face. But if you stay sharp, you'll realize each one is a classroom. A lesson in patience. A lesson in self-respect. A lesson in learning where not to place your trust again. You have the right to feel pain, but you don't have the right to stay there. If you've been knocked down, don't get up the same. Get up smarter. Get up like someone who won't fall to the same punch twice. That's how you get revenge on adversity, by becoming a version of yourself that no one can take away. Life doesn't give lectures. It throws you into fire and waits to see if you'll burn or forge yourself into steel. And only you get to decide which it is. Etch this into your mind. Failure never strips you of worth unless you quit. And if you're still breathing, you still have the right to rebuild. The only question is, will you use your pain to keep whining or to rewrite your story? This world is full of loudmouths who do nothing. They shout about discipline, goals, ambition, then vanish the moment their post gets enough likes. They talk about routines, then sleep in until noon. They preach success, but can't make it 3 days without complaining. Their words mean nothing. To others, and worse, to themselves. If you have to talk that much about what you're doing, chances are you haven't done enough. A strong man doesn't narrate every step. He knows real value isn't in what you say, it's in what you show. The man who's truly moving forward doesn't have time to advertise his grind. He's too busy working. The man going nowhere, he's the one yelling the loudest, trying to fill the silence of his stagnation. You want to prove something to the world? Don't talk. Act. No one can ignore a man silently climbing toward what they said was impossible. Want to answer the doubters, the critics, the ones who turn their backs? Same answer as always: silence and progress. Action carries weight. It doesn't need promotion. It stands on its own, independent of opinions. You can be hated, mocked, underestimated, but results don't lie. You either delivered or you didn't, and there's no explaining that away. It's your calm, your consistency, your quiet discipline that makes you dangerous. A man who doesn't brag, doesn't complain, doesn't blame is the one people fear most. Because no one knows what he's thinking, what he's planning, or where he'll strike next. But one thing's certain: when he shows up, he brings results. You don't need to score points. You need to win. And real victory doesn't come from early applause. It comes from quietly chewing through hard days, one after another. And remember this: while you're busy acting, the people who once doubted you will be busy rethinking everything they ever said. Want to get back at the ones who once looked down on you? Don't waste your time in arguments. Don't become a loudspeaker for your fleeting emotions. The only way to make them see you differently is to build a life they can't ignore. And that only happens when you channel all your energy into one thing: dedication. Your greatest enemy isn't them. It's distraction. It's the itch to prove something right now. It's the trap of wanting to clap back. But the wise know this: no revenge hits harder than rising to undeniable success while they stay stuck in their own pettiness. Dedication means moving forward instead of looking back. It means pouring your time, your effort, your entire focus into what matters: your craft, your skills, your impact, the person you're becoming. It means building something no one can take from you, something no one can deny. A legacy. They mocked you once, but they can't laugh forever. While you keep doing, keep learning, keep building, and they're still busy gossiping, judging, ridiculing, at some point, the gap becomes too obvious. At some point, your silence becomes thunder, and everything you endured becomes the very thing that makes you untouchable. Marcus Aurelius said, "What matters is what you do, not what they say." The noise will fade, but what you build will remain. Don't scream in anger. Let your results speak. They speak more clearly. They echo farther. And they force the ones who once dismissed you to swallow every word in silence. Don't wait for recognition. Don't chase apologies. They're not worth the detour. If you really want revenge, succeed so massively that your existence becomes their shame. Not because you tried to hurt them, but because you're now at a level they can't reach. You don't need to win arguments. You need to win life. And you do that by going all in on the only thing that matters: relentless action, undeniable results, and quiet, unshakable dedication. Disrespect doesn't destroy you. The way you respond is what decides whether you break or rise. If you keep living to prove, to explain, to demand fairness from people who never deserved your attention, you're putting your fate in their hands. Don't. Take your power back. Choose silence when needed. Choose discipline when it's hard. Choose action, again and again. Because real strength doesn't lie in words. It lives in calm, in outcomes, in refusing to live beneath your worth. You don't need to be respected in order to live right. But when you live right, with discipline, with purpose, respect will come, whether early or late. And if it doesn't, so be it. Because you don't need it to know who the hell you are. Share this if you've ever chosen silence over rage. And remember this: you don't have to raise your voice to be heard. When you're strong enough, your silence becomes your loudest message. Thank you for being here. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video. Don't forget to leave a comment so we can spread positivity together.